Hey guys, and welcome to another video with me, Mandy, Cobra Commander TFW, here to talk about some Transformery goodness, because hey, everybody's like, oh, I've got a giant Metroplex and I'm gonna try and review that. Well, you know what? I did this recently with my last video, last review, which was, hey, everybody's psyched about getting the Terracons in the prime form, so I did the old ones. So I'm gonna do that with Metroplex. I'm going to have a look at Generation 1 Metroplex, because I think it's been quite a long time since I've looked at that toy, if I've ever looked at that toy. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, we're going to have a look at the original guy, not a reissue. I'd like the reissue just because it'd be a bit cleaner than mine, but I think it's pretty much complete. I guess I'll find out when I start looking at him. So yeah, let's take a look at Generation 1 Metroplex, guys. Do. Generation 1 Metroplex in his robot mode, but let's start off first of all with his most famous alt mode, which is of course his city mode. It's actually a fairly big city. It's got a lot of oomph to it, and around the front it's kind of interesting. Around the back it's a little bit less so, I suppose, but you're only really going to be looking at it around from the front anyway, so whatever. I think there's some really good points about Metroplex's city mode, and then there's some points which just don't gel with me. Like, one of the things I do like is the attempt of doing a cityscape background with the buildings in the back and a couple of other structures. That feels quite nice. I think the helipad is again a nice inclusion. It's kind of the top half of Metroplex I like, and then when you get down to the leg area with the medibay and stuff, that's where it falls apart for me. It does just look like the legs have been split apart and just lying on the ground. There's not much oomph to them. Especially when you compare it on a whole to like Fort Max, who is one big solid city, or Triptychon, who's one big solid sort of city, or even Scorponok, who again looks like a giant building of some description. This just kind of feels a bit, I don't know, it feels a bit too easy. I suppose it was one of the first attempts at a city former, so you know, I'll give him that, but it's much more of a Micromaster base feel to it than anything else. No offense to Micromasters, of course, because they're still cool. And you do have a lot of bits lying around. You have two guns here, so we've got that. We've got another 2 guns for his robot mode with missiles in them. This cannon thingy for 6 gun, Scamper's gun, and another tower. And you've also got his 2 fists for robot mode, so there's another 2 bits. You've got another gun, sorry I say, and Scamper's gun. Scamper I'm missing at the moment, but he is somewhere about the place, and he's alright, I'll just say that. So you do have a lot of pieces for Metroplex just kind of lying around, which is a bit of a shame. But it does work well with mini-bots, so here's some. We've got Sea Spray, Huffer, and whatnot, and we have a cool little feature, if I can get Huffer in there. You push this bit on the top here, and it shoots him out, and he goes down the ramp, and that's quite neat. Oddly enough, he's the only one that fits in there. Beachcomber and whatnot don't, but they do go on like the helipad and the medical bay area and stuff, so it's good for playing with them. So with the city looked at, let's move on to his more mobile form, the battle station. So here he is in his battle station mode, and because he now has wheels on the bottom of his legs, he can roll quite well. Got a good sound to it. He's got this weird cannon here, which I guess fires that kind of arc. Otherwise, it's kind of useless, but he's got a lot of guns. One of the new guns featured on him is, of course, the shoulder one, which can move up and down. And now to reveal this, you need to have the earpieces facing this way, otherwise it just won't flip round and it won't settle. But wait, you may want more guns, you say. Well, let's get me some guns. You can get this and shove it into this port here and do the exact same thing on the other side. And hey, you've got an extra 2 more guns because he clearly was not wielding enough arsenal, and now he is, I guess. He's ready to go. And with some of the parts left over, like this piece here and this piece here, if we fold down this bit and attach the turret to the top, we have a little tank called Slammer. And it's kind of a nice little extra dude. It won't fit on there, obviously, but, you know, put him next to him for sense of scale and scope. And it's like, hey, you've got an extra little thing to play with, and it's a good way to use up some of the bits you've got left over from the city mode. And speaking of bits left over from the city mode, here's one of them. And if we get some guns off here, hey, let's get all the guns. All of the guns. And what we can do is we can make a robot called 6 guns, because, you know, creativity and whatnot. So these guns plus editing magic, and boom! We have 6 guns, the Autobot made of guns. 6 of them, in fact. So 6 guns articulation is pretty basic, as you can imagine. It's just pegs here, so you can move the arm up and down, and whoop. Yeah, the chest requires only friction, so that can come apart. There we go, stay on. So yeah, the arms just move up and down, and that's really all you get for articulation. But he does get his own gun, and one of these guns has a port in it. Oh, okay, it goes into this one, and it goes this way up, which indicates that I've transformed this incorrectly. So let's pull these parts off and swap them around to the correct way around. And yep, there we go. Now 6 gun is... Oh, come on. This is how he's meant to be, and he's got his little gun in his hand. And it's kind of cute that a little robot made of guns needs to have another gun to hold to shoot stuff. It's a neat little idea, I suppose, if not a little silly. So Slammer, 6 gun, and the Missing Scamper make a nice little team to go with the Metroplex city mode. It gives you something else to play with, and it helps with the fact that 6 gun is quite nicely detailed. He's alright. Just little extra bits to play around with is always appreciated with my sets. So if you want to have the ramp out in this mode, so Slammer can go down here, what you need to do, unfortunately, is you need to take off the kneecap. So pop that off, and then you open up the chest as you normally would. Though it doesn't look as good as the newer version. The newer version has a good slope to it still in this mode, but here it's just kind of flat and flaccid, but there you go. I mean, he can still do the gimmick, but it's just not as fancy when you do that. And if you want, stand 6 gun on the top there and, you know, drive around with him, even though he's totally out of scale. He's so big in comparison to this mode. I think that's the Battle Station mode covered now, so how about we take him to his Titan form now? So he is Metroplex in his robot mode. I will say I didn't apply any of the stickers. That was somebody else. They're not good. His robot mode, really good, really successful. Big, boxy and chunky. Back, very boring. Not a lot of stuff there. And the face is really well done. I like it a lot. I think it's probably his most successful mode. On the articulation side of things, let's see what Metroplex can do. His ears can move. His head doesn't turn left or right though, because of it's being on a spring. The arms are on big old ratchets at the shoulder here, and go all the way around. Same for this arm as well, obviously. Now to get the other bits of articulation, move these parts up, and then he's got a waist joint, which turns best when you turn it this way. It is, again, kind of on an awkward joint, and if you want, you can have him face backwards and scream in agony and pain. Let's flip him back around. And hey, while the arms are up, how about we move the legs forward as far as they can go? They can go all the way forward, as long as it doesn't knock off this knee pad thing. It's got a good angle to it, and you can go all the way back on it as well. The leg can also go pretty far out to the side, get a good old splits going on, and hey, because he's got so much weight in his legs, you can actually balance him on one leg, which is kind of neat. I don't know why you'd need to, but, you know, I like the ability of balance and whatnot. It's pretty cool. And now we're going to take off these knee pads here, or the other one, and show you some other things that he can do with these ports. So what we do is we get a Scramble City dude here, and we'll go and position these up, and I'll go and grab a few more. Okay, so let's grab ourselves some more. He is another protector bot. For size comparison, how about we have a look at him with the Robots Hero Shockwave? And for those people who are new to the fandom, here he is, I should say, with a Legends toy. So you can tell he's a big guy, but let's take them away and show you what these can do when you get them all together. So, now we have them back in their limb forms, and let's plug them onto these ports, because that's what you can do, apparently, and it's kind of weird. So we'll get another aerial bot and put it on his shoulder here, as so. They just, you know, clip in as you would expect them to. And we'll get the protector bot here, and this one's always a bit tricky to get in just because of how his port works. But will he go in? Will he go in? No, he won't. Okay, let's do this. So he's been done. He's finally on. How about we get, I don't know, a Stunticon and shove him onto the other shoulder just to, you know, even him out. And it's a really weird gimmick. It's kind of neat. It's just weird. Very, very weird. And what you can do, of course, is add the fist onto these guys and have forearms. And let's give him his actual guns. These, of course, being the legs for 6 gun. As so, you know, there's a leg. Unfortunately, mine have lost their springs, so they don't fire the missiles, but you can give a tug and pull them out if you so choose to. It's not a huge issue for me, because I'm not firing off my missiles everywhere. But yeah, there he is. He's all kitted up and stuff. It's still totally out there, but whatever. And I will say that, at least on the legs, they stick out a little bit on a silly degree. You know, it's a bit too far they poke out. But of course, if you want one more gun, what you can do is you can go to the nipple area here, and if you give it a tug, you can pull out some missile pods for even more firing. So how about we close this up, and I'll show you another pair of guns. Remember the battle platform mode? This shoulder gun here, you turn his ear, because you have to do this, so you have to turn it. And then you flip it this way around, and he's got even more guns. So, you know, I bet you're thinking, hey Andy, why don't we add more guns? You know, this one from the battle platform earlier, and shove that onto his back as well, because why not? He's got the room, I suppose. And yeah, he's... so many guns. So many guns. And yes, of course, if you pull off these limbs on the top here, you can replace them with the guns from earlier, the arms of 6 guns, and, you know, peg them in and twizzle them around, and yep, he certainly got... That's right, even more guns. Unnecessary amount of giant cannons. Because remember, this is a guy who's the size of a city. Does he really need this many guns? I don't know, maybe. So Metroplex overall is most successful in his robot mode. I think least successful in his city mode. But overall, a good little playset, because this is essentially what he is. And a fairly good transformer as well, if not for all of the parts that could potentially be lost. He has had a reissue recently. Somewhat recently, so you can pick him up without too much hassle, and he's not too bad. He's not as cool as some of the other city formers, but hey, why not get him? He's a big part of the season 3 of the cartoon. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. I don't think I have anything else to say on this guy. He's all right. I will catch you next time for another video, I suppose. So see you guys laters.